the Loki TV series is now back into production. So very little is really known about the show. We've only had one glimpse, one tease of the show really back in, I think it was February, right? I think you just mentioned it was in
Yeah.
February. So it was, I think it was during the Super Bowl. I think it was a Super Bowl teaser spot, and that's all we really saw. And it didn't really give anything away other than the uniform he was wearing had the TVA stuff on it. So, which I'm not too familiar with in the comics. I read through this article here and everything because that's essentially once it kind of came out, once the super sleuths who could, know all these deep cuts right off the bat and actually pull this out and make nice little articles like this, you get to learn a little bit about it. So the TVA are essentially like time cops. So dealing with the fact that the Loki we're dealing with is now pretty much a Loki out of time with, because it's like our Loki that we're familiar with is officially dead. That was confirmed by the Russo brothers that Loki did die. So this Loki that we're actually following in the show is supposed to be the Loki that escapes during the time heist in Endgame with the Tesseract and just poofs away. That's who we're following. So it's essentially a Loki that was plucked right from Avengers 1 who has not experienced any of the character development since then. So a much more mischievous Loki.
Yeah.
So that's a kind of I don't know, it's intriguing because there's a lot they could do with that. And then with the time variance, authority people or whatever, I don't know what kind of role they're gonna play. I imagine they'd probably just be like some time cop stuff, like, oh, you're doing some bad stuff, or maybe they're gonna send him out to like fix things too, since he's broken so many things. Like, I don't know. Because I imagine based on the synopsis of the show that we have, they mentioned that it is, quote, Loki's going to be popping in throughout human history as an unlikely influencer on historical events. So
Interesting.
that, like, presumably speaking, he does that and then gets caught by the time variance authority, right? Because I don't think he'd be going around doing that for the time variance authority. I feel like it would make more sense that he goes around, causes mischief as he does in the timeline, and then that's when he gets plucked away. So that really just leaves the question, like, what's he going to be doing with the time cops here? And will Jean-Claude Van Damme make an appearance? That's really the question.
We can only hope.
Dude, if they brought him in to do a cameo, that would be the best thing ever. Like,
that would be pretty good.
Or if they just had, like, they could even do it to where when Loki is like popping in and out of different timelines, just have one be like the time cop scene when dude, like Jean-Claude ports in front of the truck, and then he's like running from the truck, and then he has to jump under the truck, and then just have Loki just pop in there real quick, and then just like pop out. It's like wrong timeline, then boom.
Yeah, just like oops.
Like, dude, Jean-Claude Van Damme movies are so good.
I know you're joking, but now I want to go hit up IMDb and see who owns the rights to Time Cop and whether or not Disney
No, it'd be great. But what are you guys thinking about Loki getting back production? You excited to see this?
Yeah, I think it'll be great. I love Loki.
I mean, he's like one of the best MCU characters.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, good enough to where he not only showed up, because we talked about this, John and I, when we were doing our MCU ranking stuff. Like, Tom Hiddleston's Loki had enough charisma and everything for them to use him in Thor as the main baddie and give him, like, arguably just as much screen time and character development as Thor got, if not more in some ways. But then he comes back and has even more development and growth and is a main character in Thor 2. And in, like, the main villain in the Avengers, like, pops up he's been used more than almost any other character.
He really has.
Like, I really think he might actually have, I'd have to look this up, but I'm not 100%. But he might have, like, if not the most, like, tied with the most Avengers appearances at this point. Like, just MCU movie. Like, because he's been in, like, every Thor movie. He wasn't in Age of Ultron, right? Or was he in Age of Ultron? That might be the only one he wasn't in. I can't remember.
I don't think he was.
But
I think he was on board at that point.
Yeah. But either way, he's been in almost damn near like almost every Thor movie and then almost every Avengers movie. Like he's been a main character in all of them too. I mean, like, and that's just props to Tom Hiddleston because he plays the character so well. So like, and I'm just everybody was really bummed that he died, obviously, and but it needed to happen. I think I feel like they in some ways did kind of drag it on, and if they wanted to push Thor and like give him some actual more character development, which is kind of a shame because it seems like the only character development they're wanting to give Thor is just him losing people. Like
Right.
everybody just dies around him, and he has to just kind of just okay, move on, just move on. You think he'd have something good happen, like probably will in Love and Thunder because Jane's going to come back. So I mean, we'll get to see that. So who knows? But what John? What are you thinking about the Loki series coming back to production? What do you think is going to go on with this time variance authority stuff? Because then the other thing that this article goes on to say, which I don't know if this is 100% true, but it says it could have implications on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which we know has been said for WandaVision. But this is the only time I've read anything actually saying that Loki would have implications. But I guess based on the time travel stuff, maybe it could. Who knows?
Yeah, it sounds like they're well. I mean, you start talking about time travel, and you have to jump back to our conversation from our previous. I think it was our previous episode where we talked about the news about Kang being brought into the MCU, and so then you have to wonder if Loki's shenanigans draw the attention of Kang. If it was the in-game shenanigans they pulled with going and grabbing the stones, if something went wrong with returning the stones. There's so many questions that come out of that revelation that they're bringing a time traveling villain into the MCU. So you start lining up where the origins of that could come from, and maybe we see Kang in the background of a Loki episode somewhere. Maybe maybe they introduce Kang's pre-villain character. Yep.
What if you know how Marvel doesn't fully straight up adapt everything? It's not 1-to-1 from the comics and everything. What if they make Kang the leader of the TVA, and then he defects? Maybe he's actually inspired by Loki changing things, and instead of being the time cop, he wants to go and do what Loki does. Maybe he takes the Tesseract from him, and then maybe that's how that'd be kind of cool.
That'd be cool. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that we could see the introduction of that character. While they say that he's going to be showing up in Ant-Man and the Wasp, maybe he has a small role to play in this series if this actually hits before. I don't know what the timeline is when those are coming out, but I just, like you said, Doctor Strange in the multiverse, it would be odd to me to see 2/3 of the Disney shows be tied so heavily into that one MCU movie.
Yeah.
I would think they were trying to diversify a little bit. And I'm not even sure that I believe that these are just going to be stepping stones to the MCU movies. I think they want these things to exist on their own. And while they tie in, maybe they just tie in less directly than maybe we're being led to believe. I don't know.
All right. I mean, yeah, a lot of this was have to wait and see, but I totally agree. Like, I don't think they need 3 different things tying into one movie. Even though Loki and Doctor Strange have some sort of history, and I guess you could say that the time traveling and everything could affect. I mean, I guess it would affect the multiverse in a lot of ways, but I don't know. I feel like there's more they could do with, especially since we've been confirmed that Wanda is going to actually be appearing in Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness. I don't know. I feel like trying to balance with not that Marvel couldn't do it, I guess, because they do connect all their stuff together. But I feel like trying to balance 3 different things all connecting to one movie is just kind of unnecessary. Let alone, I don't know, definitely not needed.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
I'm glad. I will say this. I kind of got off on a tangent there, but I will say this. I'm glad to have Tom Hiddleston back as Loki because obviously 100%. The character is just great, but it's also, I kind of have to say, I'm also glad that while the character development felt real and it was earned and it was great and it was very nice to see over the course of those movies, Loki as the god of mischief, I think is the ultimate version of the character, and I think he's the
True.
most fun when he's doing that. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that we're getting
Yeah.
that version.
Yeah, that's a good point because if anything, that was one thing that I always kind of complained about in the back of my mind was that they never really saw him do any mischievous stuff really, because everything he kind of did was like, I mean, Avengers, like that was what Thanos kind of willed him to do. Like that wasn't really like
Yeah.
Loki doing it. He was pretty much ordered by Thanos because he was, you know, for the most part being used by Thanos, but at the same time, it wasn't really like him doing it. And then with the only mischievous stuff he really did was in Thor 1. And then he kind of was more just like deceitful in Thor 2, but that's when he started to like come around and be like more of a good guy kind of thing. So
it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how they balance him as the protagonist of this show with him, the more evil version of him that he's pulled from and kind of being in the show. I mean, are you going to be rooting for him to succeed in these instances where he goes and messes with history, or are you going to be more like, oh man, Loki's really caused a headache here. Who's going to fix this or whatever? So
right, and that's where like I think that's, which kind of sounds kind of paint by numbers, but I think what's inevitably would happen was that he's going to go cause all this chaos, and the TVA is going to like catch him and make him fix it, and then chaos ensues because he affected the timeline. Then when he goes back to try to fix the timeline, who knows what happens there, and that's where all the conflict like occurs. Was kind of like what we didn't get to see with Cap returning the Infinity Stone, right? Like that kind of, that's where I imagine it would go, which could be interesting, could be kind of, I don't know, in the end kind of boring because it's kind of a paint by numbers story, but that's just like where I'm thinking off the top of my head. I'm not a writer, so thankfully you guys are welcome. I'm not a writer. So, but anyways, guys, question is, what do you think? Are you guys excited that the Loki show is coming back into production? Because I know I am, like I said, with especially like I said before with the Disney Plus stuff, they need some content. So I mean, if for anything else, just get Disney Plus some new content to put out there. But obviously, Tom Hiddleston being back in Loki, as Loki, we all unanimously agree he's just like Winter Soldier, one of the best characters in the MCU. So it's never a problem to see more Loki, But whatever you guys think, you let us know down in the comment section below.